Hello, it's Kerri, and it is Tuesday again. Just let me get this set up. All right, this seems to be working okay. Got it. All right. Let me minimize that. All right. Let me also, sorry, I'm just getting everything set up here. Uh, this one. This one. Okay, I've got my notes. All right, welcome to Tuesday chat. And what a week, hey? I'm just making sure I am all good here. Yep. Make sure you let me know if you can hear me okay, or more so if you can't hear me, put it in the comments so I can double check. I think I've got everything all working fine. I've had a shocking week with tech. Just my website went down. So for all of those that are members or who have tried to access some free information from me, you'll know the website was down, but it is all back up and running now. So simple solution, but took me a long time waiting on replies from my the company that runs my website. So frustrating, but anyway, we're all good now. Okay, so today's chat, I wanted to have a chat about an old master, actually. I've mentioned her before, but I thought I would do a chat about her entirely because she's quite amazing. She's from the 1700s, so not alive today, but her name's Rosalba Carriera, and she was like a pioneer woman artist and also a pioneer pastel artist. So hi Di and Julie. All right. So yeah, so I thought I'd researched her a while ago in I don't know what it was. I was looking at old masters and pastel artists and all of that. And she came up then, and I felt I needed to do a full chat on her and share her expertise in that with everyone, just so you could go in and research her a bit more yourself if you're interested. So hi Susie and Melissa and Andrea, awesome. So yeah, so everyone seems to be getting on and everyone can hear me all right, so I will get on with it. Okay, so Rosalba Carriera, I was calling her Carrera, it's Carriera, and she was born in Venice in Italy in 1675, and I'm pretty sure she lived there for quite a lot of her time. So she was born and lived in Venice, and she was known as a pioneering artist through the Rococo period in art, and also a trailblazer, of course, for women artists, which is huge back then. If you want to, like, can you think back then, I suppose, of how, well, even now men seem to sort of be the ones that reach great heights with their art. I'm not so bad now, of course, but can you imagine back then? It would have been quite difficult as a woman to get recognized, but she certainly was. So I've got some screen sharing to happen here, so I might screen share just a picture of her right now. Of course, back then, not really any cameras, so most pictures, of course, are of like original paintings. So just let me come back to that. So I'm hoping you can see that photo of her. Oh, not photo. The painting of her, a self-portrait. Of course, this is in 1731. She did this one, so it's of her. You can see she's getting older, so she would have been, if she was 75, around 55 or so, 56, when she did that self-portrait. Just so I always think it's nice to actually see a picture of someone when you're talking about them. So this is Rosalba, and so she's still considered, even now, a couple of centuries past her career, she's still considered one of the most successful women artists of any era. And she was among the first artists to use pastel as a primary medium. So we know that a lot of the old artists like Leonardo and all of those guys used pastel, but it was more used for sketching and developing ideas, whereas Rosalba was one of the first to actually use it as her main medium, and it elevated pastels to a respected art form, which, you know, is huge. So she single-handedly elevated pastels to a standalone fine art medium, achieving unprecedented commercial success and international fame during her lifetime. So she first started out in miniatures, which I'll see if I can change this screen. So miniature portrait. She's a portrait artist. I couldn't really find any other images other than portraits. So I'm sure, as you can see in this little miniature, she can paint anything, but she sort of seemed to stick to portraits. I just see looking at comments. Hi, Rhonda and Marcia and Faye. I'm glad to have you back on, Faye. So yeah, so her career started with portraiture. With miniatures. So, you know, painting on the little snuff box lids, and little easily portable and marketable items. The little pocket-sized artworks could decorate everyday objects and be enjoyed privately. So it was really, like I said, marketable, and just something a lot of people were getting done at the time. There's another one there. So a bit like nowadays, you know, you can paint for the market. What's selling? You know, we do pet portraiture. So back then, obviously little miniatures, because I'm pretty sure they didn't have cameras. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure when cameras were invented, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't 200 years ago. So, you know, so to get a likeness of someone, you know, if you wanted your sweetheart in a locket or something small, it would have to be done by an artist. So this is where she started. Of course, these weren't pastel. I'm pretty sure these would have been in oils. So yeah, it's quite interesting as well to see how she evolved, just like we do, you know. So she started with her miniatures, obviously was still a brilliant artist even then, and then moved on to changing mediums and also moving on to larger paintings. You know, I started with folk art and then moved on to oils. So I'm sure we all started somewhere. And yeah, I mean, I'm guessing she started a lot earlier than just miniatures, but this is where she started to make a name for herself, I suppose. So then she has transitioned into pastels. So at the height of her success as a portrait miniature artist, she began experimenting with pastels, which then famously became her specialty. So they were really uncommon as a primary medium in her early career, but she was captivated by their potential for creating the softness and vibrant colors suitable for the Rococo aesthetic, but also for portraiture. So her emphasis was on softness and realism. So let's have a look at another one here. I wonder if I can zoom in a bit. This one is called A Young Lady with a Parrot, and this was in 1730. This was just before, just around where she did that self-portrait, wasn't it? So this would have been, she would have really been in the height of her career. But just look how beautiful and soft it is. Of course, this picture is a bit blurry. I love that she has a parrot there. His eye looks a little bit big, but it's cool that she's got incorporated an animal in there for sure. So so like I said, her emphasis was on the softness and realism. which created delicate, lifelike skin tones. And of course, she could achieve that with pastel. So she layered pastel colors with exceptional precision, creating a softness and depth that was revolutionary for her time. So she applied the pastels in thin, controlled layers, building up hues gradually to mimic the subtle variations in human skin tones. So the layering allowed her to capture the play of light and shadow, adding dimension and realism to her portraits. So you can imagine these were pastel sticks. They also would have been quite limited to colors as well back then. So of course, this is where she started to work larger as well, because to use sticks, of course, you wouldn't be able to do that in miniatures. She used to use tools like blending stumps in her fingers, or even fine cloths to soften the edges, especially around the cheeks, chin, and hairlines of her subjects. So some lost edges, which we've talked about before. So this technique created a velvety texture in the skin, giving her portraits a lifelike quality that rivaled oil painting. So her color choices and blending techniques allowed her to achieve a glow in her portraits. By softly feathering lighter tones over darker areas, she created a subtle luminosity in skin and fabric, making her subjects appear radiant and alive. A quality unique to her pastel work. Let's see if we've got, that was the eyes. This was another one here. You could see in the cheeks and the face, just that beautiful softness to the skin. So instead of relying on bold colors, Carriera used a delicate palette with pale pinks, soft blues, and gentle yellows, which she expertly blended to capture the complex tones of human skin. So her skillful use of color is what gave the illusion of depth and warmth in her portraits. And you can see most of her portraits definitely have those soft colors to it. This is quite a dark background on this one, which is quite unusual for her. But when I've been through looking at a lot of her portraits, they do seem to have a lot of these blue colors. Her portraits really do, she has her own style. You can definitely pick one of her paintings when you look at quite a few. She also put a lot of detail into her textures. So the getting the reflective quality of silk and like the pearls here and fabrics, lace she used to do a lot of as well. I'll show you a painting of she did of Louis the 15th, I think it is, when he was younger, which has some great lace work as well. So she really focused on her texture as well. So real attention to detail, which was unusual for pastel work at the time, and really showed the medium's potential for realism. Okay, so that's, she's, like I said, was a trailblazer for women artists, but also pastel artists, to really make other artists aware that pastels could be used in this way. Whereas before they were just considered a sketching tool. So she was also known for her intense focus on the eyes, often capturing them as the most luminous and expressive part of her subjects by adding slight touches of white chalk or lighter pastels. She depicted the reflection of light, creating a gaze that feels both tender and penetrating. So this is from her Louis the 15th painting. But you can see her eyes are beautiful. And when you imagine this is all done with sticks as well. And like we do eyes now like this, but back in the time, they probably didn't put as much focus in eyes as she has. She was really pioneering in her realism as well. Which is amazing. And they're just, yeah, absolutely beautiful. So the eyes are the focal point, of course, as we all know that. And her technique set a trend in pastel portraiture, which her emphasis on the eyes became a defining feature, drawing viewers into the emotions and personalities of her subjects. And that technique influenced many artists who followed her, which, you know, we all talk about it now. The focus is on the eyes, as I spend the most time on the eyes myself, to really make sure that is the focus point of the painting. Different, I mean, portraiture is a bit like animal portraiture. Your animal or person is the main subject of your painting. Bit different if you're doing a landscape and you've just got figures or animals in the landscape. The focus may not be on that, like right on the eyes, but in the style, my style is definitely the eyes for sure. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute so I can see everyone again. Let me go back there and back there. All right. So now I'll be able to see comments as well. Definitely look up Rosalba if you want to learn more about her, but I'll also put all these notes in a blog post as well. So, all right. So her innovative use of chalk pastels. So she's by chalk pastels, as we call them now, soft pastels. Some people still call them chalk pastels, but she helped popularize them throughout the whole of Europe and set a trend for other artists to start using them. Her techniques inspired a growing interest in capturing subtle motions and luminosity in the portraits. So maybe that hadn't been shown before, whereas she's been able to achieve that by using soft pastels. So pastels were often seen as a secondary medium, like I said, used primarily for sketching or prep work. They weren't typically chosen for finished pieces in like that are displayed in high profile settings, which was always oils, of course, back in those days. So which funnily enough, oils with the lacquers and stuff they use, like we all know oils last a long time, but they yellow over time, and there's quite a lot of famous oil paintings that need a lot of upkeep, whereas some of the pastel paintings probably wouldn't, because you're not layering over them with like oils, like linseed oils or varnishes or finishing with that could yellow, whereas pastels, I'm not sure how she finished hers off. I haven't researched into that enough, but so I'll keep going with her techniques a little bit. So she saw pastels as capable of capturing the softness and luminosity and delicate texture that she was aspiring to achieve in her portraits. So by using pastels for commissioned full-scale portraits of aristocrats and royalty, that's how she established them as sophisticated and a standalone medium to rival oil paint. So she was getting commissioned a lot to do portraits of the high class, and she was doing them in pastels, which because people were sorting her, like seeking her out because they loved her work, and it was very popular at the time. And yeah, it really elevated her pastel skills, but also her as a woman artist. So her skillful blending technique showed that pastels could create depth, realism, and vibrancy. She used layering, feathering, and smooth color transitions to capture lifelike skin textures and the reflective qualities of fabric, which encouraged other artists to explore those possibilities as well in pastel. So pastels are less durable than oils, yet her techniques allowed for works that withstood time and transport, expanding the practical use of pastels in more formal art settings. So I'm really not sure. I think I would need to research a bit more on that, because it would be quite interesting to sort of see how she managed to use pastels but have them still durable, if you know what I mean. You know, today we put them under glass and we can purchase glass that's non-glare, so that you can see the artwork really well. But back then, I'm not sure how they would have done that. And it's something that's really quite interesting, actually, to figure out how she did it. Pastels haven't changed over time, so they're still exactly the same as they used to be. So still a delicate medium, but she managed to turn them into something, like I said, more durable. But also I also wonder what substrate she was using as well, whether she was working on canvas and whether she was prepping it in certain ways. So that's something to really research, because again, pastel mat wasn't around back then. I'm sure she would love it, but then maybe not. Her style was beautiful anyway, and she'd mastered what she did. So, but again, it would be very interesting to know what substrates and how she applied them, and like how she made them sort of hold to the work really well. So, all right, so she definitely had a distinct style, and her ability to combine the fine detail with her ethereal color brought a unique quality to pastel portraits that all paint struggled to achieve. And that's what solidified pastels in portraits at that time. So it says here she did develop methods for preserving and framing pastels, which were more fragile, of course, than oil painting. Her innovations in presentation ensured that pastels could be displayed and transported without damage, further cementing the medium's viability in fine art. So I suppose she also had to develop this, because if she was using pastels, and like we get it now, some galleries won't display anything behind glass. They only want a canvas because they don't like the glare that glass causes, of course. So, I mean, like I said, we have an option of a non-glare glass. But can you imagine back then trying to sell her work to like the high aristocracy, I don't even know how to say it, the aristocrats and the higher society, they need to display their work. So she would have not only has developed her style and gone forward using pastel, she's also had to develop her own way of preserving and framing that they would go for, and she did. She was a very popular portrait artist of her time. So yeah, just amazing what she accomplished by herself, really. And then, of course, she broke the gender barriers. So not only has she mastered pastels and brought them into the light as a medium to use, she's also totally changed the trajectory of female artists as well. So she broke into that male-dominated art world, and she achieved acclaim and membership into some really prestigious art academies, including the French Royal Academy. So in the 18th century of Europe, few women artists had the opportunity to achieve a high status, particularly in portraiture and large-scale commission works. But her success demonstrated that women could excel at the highest levels of art. So she was one of the few that were invited to join the French Academy of Painting and Sculpture, which gave her work official recognition and status. So her acceptance into those elite circles sent a message to other women artists that they too could gain respect and success. And she was a single woman. I don't think she was ever married, and she supported herself entirely throughout through her art. She supported herself through her art sales throughout her career. So she was definitely an independent woman. So she earned commissions, she traveled for work, and was financially autonomous. So an inspiring example for women who aspired to also be similarly self-sufficient with their art. And even today, that is something we all aspire to. So you imagine 200 years ago, when it wasn't even a thing for women to be able to support them, let alone be single and independent, but to support themselves as well. So yeah, pretty remarkable. And of course, she's empowering future generations of female artists. So she laid the groundwork for women to enter artistic professions without having to rely on family or husbands for support. So her legacy inspired a wave of female pastel artists in the 18th and 19th centuries. So by showing that women could not only participate in, but also innovate within the arts, Rosalba set a precedence for female creativity and experimentation. So her work encouraged female artists to develop their own unique styles and techniques and pushing artistic boundaries just like she had. Okay, so her travels and commissions from European royalty showed that a woman's art could reach international acclaim. Her life was proof that women could be respected as professional artists beyond their local communities. And that created a path that women artists could walk in today. So again, not only was she famous in her community, she traveled all throughout Europe and was hung in commissioned by people all throughout. So yeah, it definitely showed that women could achieve the financial success and artistic recognition without relying on male relatives or husbands or family. Yes, quite amazing woman. So unfortunately, actually, I might just share these other two paintings first. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Hold on 1 second. You have to bear with me doing this. Back this way, I think. This one I wanted to share a closer look at this Louis the 15th, I think it is. Share. I need some notes here as well. So this is one of her most famous works, and it was a pastel portrait of young Louis the 15th, which this made her totally renowned in France. But this is the one I mentioned that you could see the attention to detail. So these were the eyes I was showing you from this portrait. But the attention to detail and in the lace work, and you can see it's pastel. As soon as you sort of zoom in, she's got pastel, like it's just a texture of pastel, definitely. Like I said, I would love to know what substrate she works on or was working on. But again, just stunning work. And like I said, you got to keep in mind the colors were limited back then. But you know, mastery at every single part of portraiture. As we all know, and you get better at art, less is better, or better at painting. You know, which that shows in the hair, you know, pushing the darks and bringing the lights, and it's just a few strokes of various color tones there to create those beautiful curls. Again, the lace work, when you zoom up, it is quite detailed, but again, she doesn't need every single little piece of detail to create that look of the lace. Yeah, just beautiful portrait, and just the gorgeous soft blend on this skin tone. And even like you can see the greens in there, which we know when you study portraiture that those greens, we know even putting makeup on as women, that greens help with the redness and all of the rest of it. And she's got a lot, just when you really stare at it, the subtle changes, but those beautiful blends, which we know we can achieve with pastel. So yeah, just remarkable stuff. And then there was this other one, which I'm hoping, let me just have a look here. Can you guys see that one? I hope you can. Yep. Let me stop sharing. And hopefully, let me know if that picture of Louis came up for you guys, because if it didn't, then I didn't do it right. So just put in the comments, please, if you saw the picture of Louis that I was going on about, because I'm not sure if that screen share worked. I'm hoping it did. Oh, it did. Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. I just want to share this other one. This was a self-portrait of her as well. And this is a website where you could go to and learn a little bit more about this particular portrait. Share screen, share screen, share screen. Okay. So this website is ladykflow.com. I'll put this actually, it's just a little bit, and she's got you'll see in a second, she has a chat about like what's it called? A podcast or talking about this particular painting. So this is a self-portrait holding a portrait of her sister. Now, so this was commissioned by the Medici family in the 1700s, and they were a very famous family, and probably still are today, I suppose. And you can go to the galleries and see this, or like the Medici family galleries. So this sort of showed it was a symbol of her status. So it was a high honor to paint for the Medici family. I'm probably saying it wrong. So she was already a famous painter when she was commissioned to do this. So as a single woman in the 18th century Italy, it indicated tremendous accomplishment. So this website, it's her sister and her, and you can see again the beautiful lacework and everything. So I'm not sure why she their gallery, she was commissioned to do it for the Medici family for their particular gallery that it's just full of self-portraits. So I'm not sure why she chose to include her sister. I think her sister played an important role in her life. But this website, which I'll share in the comments, the link, it talks about that particular painting. So you can see here, she has a podcast that you can listen to, and a very small short video here. And you can see the size of this painting was actually quite large as well. So, but it goes into all about that particular painting and how it was commissioned. So something quite interesting to have a look at. I'll just paste that. Paste. There it is. So yeah, so it's just really fun to learn all about these different aspects of some of these old masters. And Rosalba really stood out to me, and because she's a portrait pastel artist, and just imagining how hard it would have been for her in the day to become a recognized female artist as well. So yeah, so not only did she advance the use of pastels, she definitely carved a path for women artists. So so her style and techniques definitely influence pastel artists today, and they demonstrate her work and through art schools, and also a lot of pastelists would know of her, so and be guided by her influence as well. So I know, looking at some of like we're all guided by different artists and things we see, and that's like we're always, you know, being inspired by everyone else. But looking back at her work, and especially like the way she does her eyes and her detail and all of that, it definitely makes you think, wow, I'm inspired by some modern artists that I love, but if you go back through the centuries, that has come through from probably Rosalba and how she used to create her portraits, because she was one of the first to be using pastels as a main medium. So yeah, it's quite fascinating. So I'm just gonna check here what else I had. So yeah, like I said, she's encouraging new generations to of women to develop their skills and know that they can be a self-sufficient single woman artist. And I mean, her style and use of pastels, of course, would inspire men as well, but there's the two sides of the coin of how she inspires me, definitely. So that's sort of all I've got on Rosalba. I'd love for you to check her out. I think I've got it written. I'll write her name and spelling. Rosalba Carriera. I'm hopeless with names. I'll write it in the comments as well. So if you want to have a Google search and check out some of her stuff and read up a bit more about her, then that's how you spell it. And definitely have a look. Just yeah, amazing woman. And I'm gonna research a bit more about, like I said, how she used, what substrate she used. Not that they're probably not going to say. It's very hard. I mean, nowadays everyone asks questions and we tell everyone exactly what we're using, right down to the colored pencil number. But back then they didn't really probably share as much their style and technique like we do nowadays. So it could be very hard to figure out what she was using, and also how she made her paintings durable, because I don't think they're behind glass. So I'm just really not sure. So anyway, something to research. If you research and find out all about that, then definitely let me know. But yeah, so I hope that's inspired you to have a look at even not just Rosalba, but go and check out some old masters. It always helps. It will help with your own art career or art inspiration. Not really a career if you're doing it as a hobby, but it will definitely inspire you to go back and look at some of these works, because they're stunning, absolutely stunning. So, and of course, if ever you get the chance to go to a gallery and see some of the masters' works in real life, then that's even better. So, all right, guys, that is it for this week. A little bit shorter. I tried to keep them around that 40 minutes, but I'm spot on today. The last few weeks I've been a little bit over, but and it was, I got an amazing woman. She went blind later in life. Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention that. Where was that? I did have that written somewhere. Oh yeah, here. So she did lose her eyesight later in life, which ultimately ended her artistic career, which of course is a tragic term for any artist, for any person really. So yeah, she was forced to stop creating her art, which was quite sad. But she'd already made such a huge legacy with her work that we still talk about her now. So that could be why some of the later portraits I could find were around when she was around, 55, 56, that sort of era. So yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't actually see how long she lived till, actually. I should have looked at that. But yeah, definitely very sad to go blind later in life. Yeah, so anyway, all right, thanks for that bit of info, Di, because I did have it written there, but I forgot to mention it. So, all right, thanks again, everyone, And I hope you enjoyed this Tuesday chat and you learned a little bit. And I'll see you all. Will I see you next Tuesday? Hold on, let me just check. Yes, next Tuesday. I have Tuesday chat on the 12th. I'm cancelling Tuesday chat for the day because I won't be here. So, all right, enjoy your day. Hopefully you can do something creative throughout your day. But if not, maybe in the next few days you'll get into it. All right, I'll talk to you all next week. See ya. Bye.